spray to heighten the participants' sense of smell, but also to remind them of the fashion aspect of France, and also popular French music could be played throughout this whole time.
As mentioned, a few weeks ago we were given the task of improving and bringing in new ideas to Dialogue in the Dark. We have had the privilege to experience Dialogue in the Dark firsthand. So compiling the reviews from online, our survey results, and our own opinion, we have made this presentation with three main areas. One is a review on the current tour based on the two times we have gone there. The second is how we can make this tour even better than it already is. And the third one is our ideas that we want to introduce into Dialogue in the Dark.
So to evaluate the quality of the tour, there are four aspects we're focusing on. The first one is the performance of the tour guides. The second one is the experience inside. The third one is the setting of the exhibition. And the fourth one is the impact on participants. So concerning the performance of the tour guides, they're generally very friendly and approachable as they give their personal stories and gave very positive messages on life. And they actually interacted with us and asked our feeling in the dark and gave very attentive responses to them. However, there are 2 points to note in this part. The first one is that the instruction in Chinese were given very clearly. However, sometimes in English, they struggle to find the right words to explain it. And the second point is that the large number of participants actually made it very difficult for the tour guides to take care of all of us. For example, like in the first tour, the tour guides had already started explaining the second song when people at the back of the group were still in the first song. So there's some room for improvement. And concerning the experience inside, the atmosphere was generally positive and the tour was enjoyable. Given that the recreation of the songs were very realistic, given that there are some sensational features such as sound and temperature. And the sound effect in the downtown area was especially remarkable because there was an authentic combination of people talking and cars honking, which was very vivid. However, there's some improvement needed. The first of all is that the sense of smell was not very commonly used in the whole tour. The second is that although the activities were very meaningful, there was a part that we had to sit down and listen to music. For that part, the message behind was actually not very clear, and it did not help much in understanding the lives of the visually impaired. Also, given the setting that it was a cinema, listening to music doesn't seem so relevant. 咁或者依家用中文再 elaborate 多一次啦，就係頭先我哋講到咧，第一 part 嘅時候就係講到嗰啲導賞員嘅表現啦。咁其實generally 佢哋都好友善嘅，但係有一個問題就係可能喺英文嘅時候就難啲揾啲字去解釋一啲事物啦。可能佢 describe 去解釋一個樹嘅模樣嘅時候咧就比較難啦。同埋第二個問題就係因為可能參加人數比較多咧。有啲人喺後面可能未必知道做緊啲乜嘢，但係前面已經去解釋緊第二樣嘢啦，所以呢個係第一個問題啦。咁對於嗰個旅程入面咧，都係非常之好，因為其實大家嘅 feedback 都係覺得呢個旅程好 enjoyable 啦。但係有一個問題就係我哋唔係好用到嗅覺啦，咁或者就會少咗一個一個觸感啦，少咗一個感覺。第二個就係雖然嗰啲活動都非常之有意義嘅，但係有一個地方就係我哋要坐低聽音樂啦。咁其實因為嗰個導賞員都講到嗰個地方其實係一個戲院嚟嘅，咁所以聽音樂就好似有少少奇怪，同埋亦都唔係即係好體驗到一個盲人係點樣嘅生活咯。如果係真係睇戲嘅話。
So the overall settings of the exhibition is very is very well done. Especially, DID created a safe environment, but also at the same time, there are a large variety of props which create a very realistic environment. For example, in the blind person's room, there was a book written in Braille, so the visitors could really visualize the whole room as if it's a blind person's room. And on the impact on participants, they generally understand the lives of blind people according to our feedbacks from teammates and also the public. However, they are unable to understand the mindset transformation, especially not to especially the part to appreciate abilities of the visually impaired and also to accept them as a part of the society. For example, we had an interview on the visitors after they had the experience, and we asked them, did you understand the message this experience was trying to bring out? If yes, what do you think it was? And the participant actually answered, quote, "We are lucky to have sight. It's quite difficult not to see things. We believe this is not the message the ID is trying to enforce, so we hope that through future effort, the idea will be able to convey this message and etch it in the visitor's mind."
For how to make the tour more perfect, we are focusing on how to improve the sensations and service for Somewhere in the Dark. And we have 3 recommendations for how to enhance the overall experience. 咁其實我哋就想注重翻喺感官同埋服務上，而且我哋以下就會有3個建議啦。And the first one is about you may consider putting more emphasis on the summer theme. Temperature, humidity, and senses can be amplified to make the experience more complete. And we recommend you to add more stimulations to people's sense of smell in the tour, because currently the tour just includes one smell, which is the grass scent in the park. So maybe it would be great if you can have more stimulation for smell. And example would be spraying some tropical fruits perfume in the grocery area. And another example for temperature and humidity is about you can keep the temperature and humidity of the park at a higher level to put the emphasis more on the summer theme. 咁其實我哋就覺得我哋今次呢個 Summer in the Dark 咧，我哋經過2次嘅 visit 之後，就覺得佢缺少咗一啲夏日嘅元素啦。咁其實我哋就係提議喺感官上咧，就係由嗅覺嗰度入手啦，咁就可以加強嗅覺，因為我哋認為而家現有嘅Summer in the Dark 咧，佢哋淨係得一種嗅覺係唔夠足夠嘅。咁而另一樣嘢就係可以喺溫度同埋濕度上調校翻啦。因為如果呢個 tour 係 Summer in the Dark 嘅話，咁我哋覺得其實佢應該要符合翻夏天佢又熱又濕嗰種感覺啦，所以就可以加強呢一點。Secondly, we discovered that a large group of participants can make a huge difference for in-depth exploration. And it takes the guide a lot of time to make sure that everyone was on the same page within a group of 8, but with less people in the tour. The guide is able to interact more with each individual and to take care of everybody's needs. So we suggest to limit the number to a maximum of 5 people at once, as we believe that by limiting the number of people, it can demonstrate a more complete experience of blind people, and by letting participants to go through more details and can convey the company's message more effectively. 咁我哋其實就係覺得可以喺人數嗰度咧，我哋可以做一個減少個人數啦。咁就我哋建議就上限係5個人啦。咁因為我哋覺得我哋第一次 tour 嗰陣時咧，我哋其實有8個人嘅。咁我哋覺得咁樣嘅時候，tour guide 就好難兼顧到我哋咁多個人嘅需要啦。同埋咁樣就少咗啲時間去睇多啲細節，咁就即係等我哋少咗一個機會咧，好似一個盲人咁樣，可以用我哋感官，完全地用感官去探索更加多啦。所以我哋覺得如果減少個人數嘅話，係可以方便到 tour guide 可以睇住多啲人啦，而且啲參加者都可以更加體驗到貴公司你哋嘅呢個服務同埋呢個想帶出嘅信息。Thirdly, we suggest replacing the piece of music with a movie clip to make the experience more memorable and attractive. And you may consider playing the soundtrack of a famous movie like Jurassic Park in the theater. and provide audio description with earphones. And you may seek advice from the Hong Kong Society for the Blind, as they have launched a program about blind movies since 2012, and it was a huge success. And 咁其實我哋就係建議咧喺戲院嗰度咧就將一段影片咧可以代替咗而家嘅音樂啦，因為我哋覺得喺戲院入面咧播放音樂咧就有啲唔係好適當啦，同埋如果將口述電影可以擺喺呢個戲院度提供嘅話，咁可以更加感受到其實盲人都可以好似正常人咁樣一樣咁感受到睇戲嘅樂趣。咁我哋覺得係更加表達到貴公司你哋想表達嘅信息。係咁so we hope you will enjoy our presentations and take our ideas into consideration. So yeah, thank you.
All right. So for the ideas we want to bring into dialogue in the dark, we have a couple of smaller ideas compared to our main proposal. Now, the first idea we came up with is adding more themes into the tour. So basically, we could change the first zone or the other zones by enhancing it a little bit. So maybe the park could be enhanced to like an Amazon forest or something like that. So we believe that through this, it could attract more people, more customers to participate in this tour and bring more profit to this organization. Other ideas include camping in the dark, movie in the dark, social networking in the dark, and art jamming in the dark. But these ideas have relatively different risks, so we weren't able to actually go into detail in these 2 weeks we had.
This quote by philosopher Martin Buber, "The only way to learn is through encounter," is a quote that will signify that we will continue to elaborate through our next theme, which is around the world in 80 minutes.
Here is the trailer of 80 minutes around the world.
我哋整咗一個影片去介紹我哋呢個新嘅 tour。
So for our main idea, around the world in 80 minutes, our message is basically to try to convey that even if you are visually impaired, you can still travel around the world and enjoy the wonders of the world that a person who can see can enjoy. The tour will start in a blind person's room, where the guide will guide the participants of the tour to pack a bag that will contain clothes, shoes, and other necessities needed for a trip. And then it will end in a cafe where the participants can enjoy a nice drink in a French cafe.
As what he just said, we begin by simulating a blind person packing their bags, getting ready to travel the world. We're going to try to use simple objects such as clothing and shoes that are easily recognizable and easily put into a suitcase to avoid any complications. And then the tour guide can lead the tour to the Amazon rainforest, which is situated in the park. Suggested features include bird cries and wildlife noises. Topical spray could be used around the room to heighten sense of smell of the participants, and there could be higher temperature and humidity to simulate a rainforest. The rain from summer in the dark could also be incorporated, as rain is a very common feature of a rainforest. The next spot would be the Sahara Desert, which is situated in the empty room where the ball game was played in the summer in the dark. The floor could be covered with sand, which is easily found in any gardening stores, and the temperature could be adjusted to dry heat or cool breeze to simulate the heat of a desert. Extra decorations around the room can include birds and objects resembling scorpions that can be found around deserts. We could also use prickly but harmless cactus, as we do not want to harm any participants in the way. Next room would be the market. As the market is already well furnished and resembling Hong Kong markets, no changes would be necessary. In the theater, we think that the theater could be modified into Broadway to continue the theme of Around the World in 80 minutes. As Swanee previously said, we could change the music into a clip from an internationally recognized movie or play. Lastly, we could modify the cafe into a French cafe, continuing the idea of allowing participants to eat and drink while being blind. Participants could enjoy a French atmosphere while being offered French specialties such as croissant, wine, and cheese. To enforce the French atmosphere, perfume could be sprayed around the room to remind the participants of the fashion aspect of France. Also, popular French music could be played throughout this whole scene.
Alright, so let me explain a little bit more on this idea. So this idea is actually really simple and it only modifies the setting a little bit. But the main emphasis is on the tour guide, as the story is improvised by the tour guide throughout the whole tour. So for example, when the participants end up in the cafe in France, the tour guide could say something, oh, let's enjoy the beautiful scenery of the Eiffel Tower. But of course, you cannot see it. And kind of simulate and emphasize how blind people live through their lives every day, and also let them experience more of what Dialogue in the Dark is trying to bring to these people.
Although Dialogue in the Dark is already a very well-polished experience, nothing is perfect and there is always room for improvement. We hope that you will take into consideration our additions of further utilizing the other 4 senses and our addition of our 2 other ideas into your tour to help further convey your message and continue bringing in a steady profit. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
As to your round in the world in 80 minutes idea, I was wondering, you talked about kind of potential scenery changes in the first 3 areas, but what would go on in those areas? Is it simply kind of, let's take in the scenery and move on to the next route? Surely you have any ideas planned for those routes?
Mostly sightseeing, but as I said, there can be different activities planned. Mostly it depends on the tour guide. If the tour guide wants to kind of introduce the place a bit, they could. But as mentioned before, in places like the cafe, people could eat or drink these French specialties, and there could be activities planned.
Any other questions?
Do you think the guides have to be to have more training, or what kind of trainings in order to lead the participants, the visitors, into the kind of dramatic experience of traveling the world?
Well, firstly is perhaps they could understand the story behind 80 Days Around the World, so they could have a good story to put out when the visitors come. Another thing is perhaps language training, especially in English, because this is also one thing that we want to promote for tourists to come to Hong Kong as an attraction in Hong Kong, because like other places, other Dialogue in the Dark do not have this experience. So we're just hoping that the tour guides could have simple training and maybe some language courses and something like that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you.